Let's do this. My name is Leah. I have been wanting to start a knitting podcast for a really long time now. It's been a long time coming. And after, of course, my dad pestered the crap out of me today and has been nagging me, it's just time to do it. So let's do this. My name is Leah. I am Pygmy Tiger Knits on YouTube now and Instagram. I am an avid knitter and crafter of all things. A little bit of background. I was a art teacher for 7 years. I taught 5 years elementary art and 2 years middle school art before I changed careers and became a home engineer. I have 3 beautiful little girls. They're 4.5, 2.5, and Maggie will be 1 on Sunday. So my life is very busy, but somehow I still manage to make. Everyone's always very perplexed when they see how much stuff I am able to make. I have also been sewing since I was 5. I started color theory then. I still remember walking into not my very first fabric store, but the first time I got to pick out fabric with my mom in Florida. We were visiting my grandmother, and I was obviously obsessed with seashells. Still am to this day. Love beachcombing. It's one of my absolute favorite hobbies to do. It's free, you're outside, it's beautiful, but currently I pretty much stick to Michigan lakes and rivers, streams. I just recently came back from up in Leelanau County, Michigan, and brought home a pretty good haul of Petoskey stones. So, but anyway, I started color theory when I was 5, running around the fabric store with a seashell print that I love so much and matched up all the colors, and color has definitely been a part of my life forever and will be. So my love of making came very early from my mother, learning how to sew and quilt. And my dad is also an avid maker. His background is construction, so he makes furniture, and he's also an extremely talented sculptor with wood. He carves amazing fish and decoys of waterfowl. So I don't have a ton of battery life tonight, and I could only plug in either my microphone or my phone, so we don't have a lot of time, so I'll just get into it. So like I mentioned, I just returned from a trip up to Leelanau County, and of course stopped by one of my favorite yarn shops called Wool and Honey. Melissa and Liz are the owners, and they are just absolutely fabulous women. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend you go. It's a wonderful shop in this teeny tiny town of Cedar, and it's super, super, super cute. And of course I had to go squish all the yummy yarn. So I got some La Bien Amie. Okay, this color, it's her sport weight, and I haven't tried her sport weight yet. It's Merino Sport, and this colorway is called Sarila. And I also picked up this one, which is Cocoa. This one's Sorry, and this one's Cocoa. So my middle daughter, Lucy, is completely obsessed with the color green. And I've knit for my children all the time. Lately, I've been knitting for myself a lot, but they generally get 1 or 2 sweaters a year. And having 3 is obviously keeps me super busy. But tiny sweaters knit pretty fast. And Lucy, I knit for Edie, my oldest, and she grows. And so hand-me-downs are definitely a thing in this household, especially with knitwear. But I thought it was time that she had one of her own. So I picked up this green, and I'll use the pink to contrast with it. Probably some Colorwork. I'm a huge fan of Colorwork. So pick those up. Love. And while I was there, I also picked up this lovely pin for my mom. It says, "Ask me about my grandchildren." So had to grab that for my mom. Also in the mail, I recently received Night Owl Fibers. And this is her Luna colorway, Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter. I'm super excited about this. I love, love, love knitting socks, especially when they're self-striping. I find them extremely motivating, and it's always, oh, just one more row, just one more stripe. And they tend to knit up quite quickly in my house. This one is Hermione Granger. a little bit more mellow in her colors, but I still really, really, really loved it. And I very much like Night Owl. I'm obsessed with Gilmore Girls. I love Gilmore Girls. I've loved it since it came out. I've probably seen it the whole series more than a dozen times, and she does lots of Gilmore Girl colorways as well as Friends, which I very much enjoy. Because we're continuing to talk about socks, I'll share one of my goals this year. I dedicated the year 2021 to Christmas knitting. So the whole year I am dedicating to Christmas knits. So Christmas colors, Christmas themes, Christmas motifs, Christmas colorways that are inspired by Christmas. Totally totally intending on creating a very festive, homemade, handmade Christmas. I love Christmas. I love decorating for Christmas. I have my Christmas birch tree up all year in my knitting room. So I'm very excited about it. So one of my goals was to knit more Christmas sweaters that are Christmas color and just festive happiness. And the other is to knit 25 new pairs of Christmas socks. So again, either color, motif, design, name of the colorway. And I am currently working on pair number 13 out of 25. So I am not allowed to wear them until December 1st. And my husband actually had the idea of wrapping them all up and opening them each day, kind of like an advent calendar. So it'll be a mystery of which one I open every day, which I kind of like. I have a few too many advents coming to my house this year. I'm sure my husband will be completely thrilled when he sees them all arrive in November. I actually have 3.5. I have 3 full ones for every single day in December, and then 1/2 that's a 12 days of Christmas, and that one is from Raybot, also known as Junk Yarn. When I saw hers, I was like, gotta do that. I got Chelsea yarns coming, Spun Right Round, which is one of my absolute favorite dyers, and what is my other one? It'll come to me. I'm very excited about it. I have some of her yarn just over there on my shelf because she dyed me a fade sweet nesting. So I'm very excited. December will be super fun. I decorate in here and hang up my advents on the window and open them every day. So maybe we'll try to do Vlogmas this year. We'll see. I've always wanted to document the Christmas season, not just for my knits, but with my family. You know, having young kids makes Christmas pretty magical. Well, one of the socks that I wanted to do, I wanted to try my hand at some Colorwork Scandinavian traditional ones, and I saw Tracy from the Grocery Girls do some socks from her, and I was like, oh, gotta do that. So I ordered this, and it's like a nice rustic wool. I can tell it's gonna hold the colorwork really, really well and define the stitches, but it's not too scratchy. It's Norsk Ull, which is wool. So this comes in a kit. It's a Rayuma garn, which is yarn in, I think, is it Swedish, maybe? I can't remember the language specifically, but when it's time, I'll share more about this because I'll be following along with her class to make sure that I do it correctly. And one of my other Christmas knits that I'm getting very excited about. If you haven't already heard about Hugh Loco, Nicole, she's in Colorado. She's a fantastic dyer. And of course, Hugh Loco, Crazy Color, is obviously, she has a thing for color. And I fell in love with her Sexy Christmas colors that she put together for one of her Color Riot 10-pack. And obviously purchased that. So these are all of those. Whoops. Mini skeins wound up, ready to go. I am currently swatching for this. My first swatch, my stitches were a bit too tight, so I have to do another swatch and go up in my needle size. But this is going to be a Colorwork sweater, the Christmas in July sweater from Tanis Fiber Arts. I just love looking at this in this lovely bowl that was my grandma's. So everything just fit nice, and it looks like a little Christmas flower. So those are coming up. Some FOs that I have finished recently. This hat. Oh, I love brioche. It is so squishy, yummy goodness. This is the brioche cherry hat. I can't remember who wrote it, but Brio Cherry. And I actually stole this idea from my good friend Chelsea. She knit this hat first. It was her first brioche project. I was like, way to go, Chelsea. I've knit several other brioche projects before I did this hat. But she knit this. The minty color is from Lemonade Shop, and the orange is Trey Liz that I picked up. I picked up the mint color from Lemonade Shop at my very first Rhinebeck at Indie Untangled. And I had a slight obsession with single ply at that moment. So I got single ply, and then the next time I went to Rhinebeck, I picked up the electric orange from Trey Liz, because Chelsea combined them together, and I thought, oh my god, Chelsea, that is just fantastic. But Chelsea had DK, and so I held them double to make this hat, and oh my gosh, it's so cozy and comfy, and I cannot wait. Well, I can wait a little bit, but I can't wait until it gets cold enough to wear it. And some of my knit family, my knit girlfriends, my Rhinebeck crew, we had a hat challenge to see who could knit the most hats with points, and Chelsea had spreadsheets, and so many points for brioche, and so many points for colorwork, and yada yada yada. So that was one of the contributing to my score for that. One of my other, I guess we can do the half finished objects instead of the finished objects. I just finished this one today. This is one of my Christmas socks with my cute little progress keepers. You know, Christmas knits, you need your Christmas progress keepers. This one's from the Gnome Knitter in Alaska. It's a cute little Christmas tree cookie. I love her stuff. They make me so happy, and I love progress keepers because they keep me super motivated. And oh, look how far I've knit today. And so just kind of, where was I? So this is the first of this set, and this is the Cozy Knitter yarn. I love Christina's yarn. Her base is just so squishy and wonderful. This is called Holly Jolly, is this color, and I have several more pairs from her self-striping. And I'm super excited. She had her update this last weekend on Sunday for her 24 stripe Advent skeins, which this will be the 4th year that I've been lucky enough to get some of that yarn. She creates a self-striping yarn where 24 stripes, all different. And it's just such a work of art. And the first year I was very tentative about it because I'm not super big on mysteries. I like to know what I'm buying. I like to know what I'm spending my money on. So, and I wasn't super in love with traditional Christmas colors right away. And so I didn't actually buy one that first year. But somebody else I know, Kristen from Indianapolis, she purchased and didn't like the colors. They just weren't for her. And so I traded her some of my stash yarn and scored them because I just fell in love with them. And I have been a soul devout customer ever since. So I score those, except this year my mom will also be getting a pair because she has asked, and somebody else who's very special in my life. So I ordered 3 skeins of the 24 stripe Advent yarn. So sorry, Christina, but I'll be casting on as soon as they get here in the mail because I have to knit 3 before Christmas and ship them off. So, oh, and I also purchased, what's her name? Freckled Whimsy. I think, yeah, Freckled Whimsy. She's also doing a 24 stripe Advent sock, and I purchased hers as well. I don't know what her inspiration is yet for this year, but I'm excited. I purchased her. I wasn't aware that she was also doing an Advent skein until after Christmas last year when she did a Schitt's Creek themed colorway, and Schitt's Creek is hilarious. So and she did another update after Christmas, and I scored a skein then. So one of my first pairs of my 25 new pairs of Christmas socks is a pair from last year, her 24 stripe. So that's these. Super excited. Like I said, I love Christmas, Advent. It's going to be great. I'm super, super pumped. And then my other sock, half FO. I don't usually have 2 socks going at once. but I played yarn chicken and lost on this pair. So this is the pattern called Saturday Morning Socks from Molly of a Homespun House. Here's another one of my cute little Christmas progress keepers, little gingerbread man. Love this. I watched her podcast and saw her pull them up, and I was like, those colors, that is just not your average sock pairing, not your average color, but I just couldn't help but love it. So I ordered the kit. It's not very often where I order a kit intending to make the exact thing that the colors are for. So I knit the first one in a day because I was just so motivated. And I also, it's been a really long time since I've done Colorwork socks. Be honest, I've only done one other pair in my more than a decade knitting career. And my tension was really off at that moment, going from Colorwork to Fun Stripies. I was making monster socks. And also I wasn't paying attention and if I was using superwash or non-superwash socks, and some of them in that sock also didn't have nylon in it, so they didn't wear very well. And then after a couple washes, some of the sections got much tighter and they were just uncomfortable to pull on and off. So I got these Addies, the Easy Knits, and it's a 10-inch circular needle, but one needle is a little bit longer. So I thought that would help my tension with Colorwork. And also I've knit so much more Colorwork since that first pair of Colorwork socks. It's probably been 9 years. So I was like, it's time to dive back in. And these, I'm happy to say, fit wonderfully. They're so cozy, and the extra layers in the Colorwork areas make it like more cushy and hug your toe just a tiny little bit more how you would want it to. So they're working out great. And also sliding my stitches much as far as I possibly could on my needles while knitting helped. It was a little bit awkward for me to switch from, I use Addi Flexi Flips when I knit socks. I'm obsessed with them. I used to be totally in love with double points, and I tried Magic Loop once, and I tried socks 2 at a time, and I've tried the 9-inch circulars. I basically try everything because you never know what you're going to like. So every time there's something new that comes out, I generally try it and see if I like it. But Flexi Flips are definitely my way to go. It's like combining the best out of double points and 2 at a time or Magic Loop. Because Magic Loop, I just wasted too much time moving the cables, and double points is very intuitive for me. So this is like, I'm only using 2 double points, and it's got that little flexi part, so there's not a ton of extra cord. So I use Flexi Flips. So I did my cuff using Flexi Flips, and then I switched to my 10-inch circular for the Colorwork, then back to my Flexi Flips for the heel and the foot, and then back for the Colorwork for the toe. I did my 10-inch. And I'm quite happy with these. I'm super, super excited. But sadly, at the very tippy toe, I ran out of my background color, which is this little bit. So I am awaiting my order, which is a huge bummer, but I'm still super excited. I will steam block these. So that way my Colorwork sets really, really beautifully. And I cannot wait until December to open up these and figure out which day it's going to be for these. Yes, they're not traditional Christmas colors, but to me, this is definitely a Christmas motif. It reminds me of falling snow. And, ooh, something fell out. One of my teeny tiny little balls of the color shoved in there. So, see, my big mistake, well, not my big mistake, but I definitely ran out of yarn. She only gives you just enough. I'm size 10, which is the biggest size that she recommended knitting for this kit. But I wanted a little bit more of the speckles along the way. And I didn't think 8 extra rows was going to make it that much of a difference and make me play yarn chicken and lose. But it did, and I was weighing my yarn the whole time. So lesson learned. But I cannot wait. I placed an order last night because I finally figured out which colors they were, because she forgot to put them on the label. So I had to go back through a bunch of her podcasts when she was talking about the socks to figure out which colors they were. But placed an order, and there may or may not be a sweater quantity in there. So those are in there. And yes, I still knit other socks through the year as well. So I just kind of take a break. So I'm like, oh, I've knit 4 pairs or 5 pairs of Christmas socks. Now I can have a bit of a palette cleanser and have something to look forward to when it gets colder. This yarn, I'm very excited about. This is for my husband. It's not very often where I see yarn and go, oh, Brenton's going to want that. Or knit for him. I do knit for him. He wears size 15s. You know you love him when you knit him socks. I mean, his feet are actually legitimately more than 12 inches long. And I really love them because they're not all shorty socks. They're tall socks, some of them. So, but he loves America. He loves red, white, and blue themed. So this is a self-striping with red and white stripes. And then the blue has a speckle in it of white. So they look like stars. So Brenton's very excited to get those. Those will be going on my needles very soon. Here is another. This is a Night Owl Fibers. This is one of her Gilmore Girls colorway. This one is Please Luke, please, please, when she's begging for coffee the very first episode. So I thought that was pretty iconic and definitely needed that. Then I also have my dear friend Sue, who I love very, very, very much. She's one of my knit family down in Indianapolis. I lived there for 2 years and became extremely close with all the ladies at the local yarn shop there called Village Fiber. Village Yarn Company. Sorry, Katie, I totally murdered that. Yeah, Village Yarn Company. And she loves baby pink. Okay, whatever. And she turned 50 this year, so she deserves some new socks. I knit her a pair a while ago, and she's got little itty bitty baby feet, and they knit up really quickly. So, Sue, if you're watching, don't peek, or if you do, whatever. You'll know they're coming your way. So this fun baby pink, it's like unicorn baby pink with contrasting hot pink, which is totally, low battery mode. Don't got a lot of time left. This hot, hot, hot pink for the contrast. So excited about those. So that's everything that's in my fabulous Pygmy Tiger Knits bag, my mushroom bag. I made this myself. I love making bags. It's very, very fun. Although I don't do it very often. I just kind of go through spurts of when I'm in a sewing mode. My other long-term whip is a blanket. So I have a hard time throwing yarn away, but it's kind of like, what do you do with the leftovers? What do you do with your odds and ends and bits? And so they just end up wound up in this big bin in my knitting room. And last year, our house was affected by a flood when a dam broke in Michigan, and also torrential rain that happened for days before that. So our basement flooded, and I was 6 months pregnant at the time, and I just completely freaked out and bagged up all of my yarn and put it all the way upstairs in my master closet in case the basement flooded all the way to the first floor like it had done to the previous owners in this house several years before. I was like, my yarn is irreplaceable. All the places I bought in it, dyers that don't dye anymore, all of that. And as you can see, I have quite the collection. So I bagged it all up and put it upstairs. And it took 10 months to get our basement remodeled, back in order, and me back in my knitting room, happy with my yarn back how I liked it. And also, having another baby in there. So I finally decided I knit blankets for my kids. It's time for me to finally have a blanket. And what better way than to just have a mindless garter stitch blanket with an I-cord edge, and I can marl all of my fabulous yarns together. And instead of making a cozy memory blanket like so many people do, this is my version of a memory blanket. I can tell you just about almost all of these yarns, where they're from, what projects they were in, and everything else. And I'm just having so much fun. It's like painting with my yarn. And I'm having a blast with it. So, I don't know, it's probably close to 24 inches long now. And I try to go about a color at a time. So I'm in the greens, working into the minty blues and teals right now. So I keep it in this little tray, the ones that are all wound up. When I'm done with the tray, I'll dump out the basket with all the other colors and spread them out on the floor in rainbow order and pull the next set to fill up the tray and wind them up and put them in there. So this is also kind of a palette cleanser. If I'm done with a project, a big project, need a break from a sock, need something mindless, want to watch a movie with my husband and not pay attention, I reach for this. And I'm loving it. It is so squishy and cozy. So I did the I-cord cast on, made a chain, an I-cord with around 300 stitches. I basically just kept doing the I-cord and laid it across my lap and thought, okay, how wide does this need to be to snuggle my kids under it? Because I know they're going to want to. And that's when I went back and picked up all my stitches and kept going. So that's really, really fun. Makes me really ridiculously happy. All right, so that's just about all of my knitting projects currently, but I'll also show you some fabric acquisitions I've gotten recently from Crimson Tate, which is a fabulous fabric store in Indianapolis, pretty close to Fountain Square. My mom's actually the one who found it. My mom is a huge quilter, has been quilting forever. She's completely obsessed. She makes fabulous quilts and gifts them to me, my kids, my husband, friends, family, everybody. All of her great nieces and nephews, which there are almost 50 now, gets a quilt, although it might not be at their baby shower. It might be when they're a little bit older. She discovered that giving to them their first birthday is kind of fun, but still, she could be behind. So anyway, this is Heather Givens. This is her logo for Crimson Tate. She was an art teacher, turned designer for fabric, and then that she had to pick between one or the other because she couldn't do both anymore because she was doing so well at fabric. So she decided to start Crimson Tate, and she's also an avid reader. So Crimson Tate is a play on authors, and she designs some really cool fabric, but she also carries some amazing lines from amazing designers. And love her. Love you, Heather. Mwah! Miss you. I don't live in Indianapolis anymore. I live in Michigan, but when I'm in town, I try to stop in and visit her. So she has been updating her Christmas fabric. So of course, had to get some Christmas fabric for some bags. So she has cute little bundles like this, and I love this one so much. I made another order and got a second one. Like, look at these cute birds. Like these little houses, like the brightest gingerbread houses, and like ice skating and little foresty snow globes, and just, I mean, look at those mushrooms. I can't. And little snowy scenes and fox with scarves on, and occasionally she'll get sheep fabric, but not like cheesy sheep fabric. Like I don't know, on another podcast I'll show you some of the bags I have made. So I got those. So I think I'm going to make a couple bags. I think I should have some Christmas themed bags to house all these Christmas themed knits that I've been working on. And I think I also need a Christmas quilt that only comes out during the holidays. So that way it makes it even cozier and even more special. When it gets closer to Christmas, I will show you my decorations at Christmas. It's a lot of work, but it makes the house so cozy and so special. And I really love creating this magical wonderland for my kids around the holidays. It makes me really, really, really happy. I also got some Christmas trees, and I can't with these. I don't know what my obsession recently with mushrooms are. There's a forest about a mile from my house that I regularly go hiking to, and the last time I went, there were so many mushrooms on the trail, and so many different ones, so I kept taking pictures so I could draw them later. But these are like bright colored Christmas mushrooms. I mean, shut up. Christmas mushrooms? You've got to be kidding. And this one, all these cool ornaments. We started a tradition 2 years ago with the girls that we go to Bronner's, which if you've never heard of Bronner's is the largest Christmas store. I don't know if the world, but definitely in the United States. Like even the White House orders ornaments from Bronner's. So we go there and the girls pick out an ornament, and then they will hand paint their names on them in the year. So we started doing that. Last year was a little bit more difficult with COVID, so we didn't go last year. But also we go to one of those hand paint your own ceramic places, and the girls, I put their handprints or their footprints on their ornaments. And when they're big enough, then they get to paint their own ornament. It's just such a precious keepsake for me as a mom, and hopefully for them later. So like, I mean, this last year, Maggie, you know, I have her little tiny footprint, and Lucy, her first one, she was only 3 weeks old when we did her little footprint, and it just, makes me so happy. So the girls actually have their own Christmas tree with special ornaments that they make and that they have picked out or pick out for each other. It's just, it makes me so happy. And of course, I had to get a bigger cut of the mushrooms for a bag. And I also picked up this fun flannel, which I will combine with something. I really, really, really love the flannels that Heather carries. They're really high quality. I actually have several bundles downstairs to make a quilt. So I guess that's it today. I'm going to keep working tonight on my Christmas sock, the one from the Cozy Knitter. And I think after this one, I will work on Brenton's or maybe Sue's, one of the other 3 in that bag, and just keep working and hacking away. I really, really, really do love sock knitting. I have some Christmas stockings I need to make for my neighbor across the street. They got married, and I thought that that would be a really nice gift. I love all our handmade stockings with the kids' names on them. So I don't know how to end this and other than see you next time. Happy knitting.